Welcome back, everyone. I always like to keep you updated on my progressive rock listening adventures. Let's see what the spring of 2025 has to offer. If you've watched my previous listening experience videos, then you know how this works. Let's begin. Kevin Ayers was the original bass player on the Soft Machine's debut album in 1968, but would soon leave, being fed up with touring and the band going in more of a jazz direction. He even sold his bass to Noel Redding. 1969 saw the release of Ayers' first solo album, Joy of a Toy. Even though a massive box set was just released recently, I opted for the much smaller original album series, which only has the first 5 albums. Much more cost-effective if you ask me. I would consider Joy of a Toy one of the most Canterbury-sounding albums of all time, which makes sense since Ayers was at the forefront of that scene going back to the Wildflowers, a sort of Soft Machine Caravan hybrid predating both bands. Joy of a Toy had sort of a loose concept running throughout the album of small-town living reminiscent of the Kinks' Village Green Preservation Society album. Ayers also had an almost Syd Barrett approach to songwriting, focusing on simple pleasures in life like the ethereal psychedelic Girl on a Swing. This definitely works better than Guy on a Swing. Kevin Ayers handles most of the instruments and uses his vocals for maximum effect, ranging from a melodic baritone, but could soften his voice at times. Other contributors include his ex-Soft Machine bandmates Robert Wyatt and Mike Ratledge. The most crucial component to the sound of the album was David Bedford, who not only contributed most keyboards, but also worked on arrangements with a classical sensibility. The album holds together very nicely with standouts like Clarietta Rag and Lady Rachel. My personal favorite is Song for Insane Times, with jazzy piano and keyboards with a catchy melody and lyrics. You might not get the Prog experience that Emerson, Lake and Palmer has to offer, but Joy of a Toy leaves the listener looking at the world a little differently, with a lot of wit and charm. The overall message I got from this album was to slow down and to appreciate what's already around you. Ayers' sense of whimsy reminds us not to take everything so seriously. The album also ends on a perfect note with All This Crazy Gift of Time. What will you do with your crazy gift of time? Me? Listening to more Prog albums, of course. And spending more time with my family. Definitely spending more time with my family. If you remember, I talked about Odin on day 8 of my Advent calendar a few years ago. Oh, you don't remember? That's because literally no one watched it. Let's recap. Odin's sole album was recorded in Hamburg, Germany, and released in 1972, only in Germany to lackluster sales. The SWF sessions were recorded on February 2nd, 1973. The 4 songs that were recorded that day were all broadcast on radio. What we hear is a very well-rehearsed band and excellent production. The sound is stellar, in some ways better than the original album. What definitely stands out is Jeff Beer's lush organ playing, which is very upfront, but never to the point of being omnipresent. You can't talk about Odin without talking about Frank Zappa. The 2 opening tracks are composed by Odin, starting with Turnpike Lane, a very Zappa-esque sounding song, and the shortest song. This is followed by Life Is Only, which is the longest song and best represents the band. The last 2 songs are both Zappa covers of King Kong from the Uncle Meat album and Oh No from Weasels Rip My Flesh. It's Frank Zappa, so you can't make this stuff up. Both covers pay homage to the originals, with Odin's signature style distinctly heard. The bonus track is a cover of the song Make Up Your Mind by Quatermass. A somewhat similar band sans the guitar. Odin had previously covered the Quatermass song Gemini on their studio album. Make Up Your Mind doesn't have the same quality as the rest of the SWF sessions since it looks to be recorded live in 1971, but it is a welcome addition since it is just a good song. Overall, the SWF sessions is a worthy addition for the organ enthusiast out there, featuring plenty of extended jamming. Odin would disband in 1974, but again, thanks to long hair music, these obscure recordings exist. I'm not sure when I will open Live at the Maxim recorded in 1971, because this is getting increasingly hard to find. And I also picked up a used copy of the SWF sessions because I wanted to keep one sealed. And the sealed one I've actually had on my shelf for over a decade. And a shout out to Graham Allen and his YouTube channel, Graham Allen Vinyl, who talked highly about this album. So this is a slight departure from my normal listening experiences. Curiouser and Curiouser Prog Rock Nuggets is a compilation CD of various prog artists that accompanied issue 377 of Mojo magazine. My uncle who wrote my theme music pointed this out to me. The artwork stands out since it was done by Sir John Tenniel, known for illustrating Alice in Wonderland, and of course his Mad Hatter was adopted by Paul Whitehead for the famous Charisma label. Curiouser and Curiouser offers 15 prog songs that are mostly on the rare side. Let's go through them track by track. Proclamation by Gentle Giant is from the Power and the Glory album. This sets the tone for the CD and is very representative of Gentle Giant at the height of their prog output. Long Distance Runaround by Yes. Never heard of the band or the song, but I wish them luck with whatever they're doing. Hold On by Crack the Sky is a standout rock song, which is the first song on their first album. I'd get their first 3 albums if someone would re-release them. Occupy by Gong is pretty good, although I don't have any Gong. This was a much later release in 2014 and David Allen's last work before his death in 2015. Ithaca's Journey is a nice psychedelic folk track from 1973. I guess the band kept changing their name. Ithaca happens to be a town not too far from me, where the Moog synthesizer was invented. The Night Watch by King Crimson is a more well-known song from Starless and Bible Black. An edited version of Rayum by Tangerine Dream is from their latest album in 2022. I don't have any Tangerine Dream, and this really didn't move the needle for me. Henry Cow's Amygdala Extract demo was a good avant-garde sounding song recorded before their first album. Peter Barton's song, The Answer, from his first album by the same name, Pre-Camel, had nice instrumentation to it. The singing was okay. Every Inch of Man by Zior, a band I never heard of, was heavy psychedelic sounding band reminiscent of the Nice with good organ. I've talked about Griffin before, and their album Red Queen to Griffin 3, in which the song Second Spasm is from. Just watch my 10 obscure prog rock instrumental albums video. A more recent cover of Hairless Heart by Jabe and some guy named Steve Hackett. They had to put a Genesis song somewhere, since it was on the cover of the magazine. Samurai Saving It Up for So Long is a good song from their self-titled album I have had for at least a decade and never opened it. The band was originally The Web and changed their name to Samurai. Singer-keyboardist Dave Lawson would go on to join Greenslade. Tunian by Lady June is another rarity that is a short instrumental from an album titled Linguistic Leprosy. Most of the songs from this album were written by Kevin Ayers. How ironic. Lastly, Jade Warrior's Snake from their third album Last Autumn's Dream from 1972 is a decent rock song. I honestly don't know a lot about Jade Warrior. Overall, this was a good combination of some well-known songs and a lot of rarities. The Genesis article was a good read too. The Old Man and the Sea was a 5-piece Danish prog group that formed in the late 60s. Their self-titled album was released in 1972 and would be their only album released in the 1970s, unfortunately. I was very excited to listen to this album, much like I was for Blast Furnace for my 2024 spring listening experience, and both delivered, although I like Blast Furnace a little more. They do draw some parallels. Both bands are from Denmark, and they have a very similar instrumentation with heavy guitar, organ, and a little flute. The album opener, Living Dead, establishes the identity of the band right away, and starts things off strong. The songs don't deviate too far from a consistent formula. Each track is long enough to explore the music without overstaying its welcome. The vocals are adequate, but you have to remember it is a Danish band singing English lyrics. Blast Furnace did have the benefit of an English singer. The guitar keeps things moving and never stagnates. The organ doesn't get overly technical, but fills the space well and uses wonderful tones. The bass and drums are also a nice fit. The Monk Song 2 is a standout with a shorter length and sounds like an attempt for a single. Going Blind is over 10 minutes long and makes for a very satisfying closer. This particular version comes with a bonus track called Circulation that fits in nicely with the rest of the album. Unfortunately, their follow-up, The Old Man Yelling at Clouds, would never see the light of day. Okay, I made that part up. The Old Man and the Sea would have unreleased material later issued called 1972 to 75, which is very hard to find, but they would release 2 more recent albums in 2020 and 2023 with some lineup changes. So I did buy the Japanese mini LP sleeve version and the jewel case version of a very worthy album. So let me know what you think of the albums that I talked about in this video in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.
Do you think you ever gone this high? Am I almost at the moon?